Hey, Roger Tua here, back with another episode of the Roundup series where I talk about multiple things in regards to the Second Amendment. I don't go into great detail, but rather I just big picture it. Series more intended for those who maybe don't have a lot of time on their hands, but they still want to stay informed around the Second Amendment. Today on the Roundup, we're going to be talking about ATF new pistol brace rule update, Illinois assault weapon ban update, a couple bad gun control bills that have been submitted federally, as well as a couple good bills that have been submitted federally. Okay, so we're going to get into all that right now on the Roundup. Okay, so up first, talking about ATF's new rule change on firearms with attached stabilizing braces. Okay, pistol braces. First, I'm going to say I am not an authority on this topic. Okay, I'm more going to tell you a couple things briefly. And then if you fall into one of these categories, you need to look into it further, okay? Because there's some potential big issues, okay, in regards to this, other than obviously, the communism, but we all already knew about that, okay? So, there's a couple traps, okay? And I don't know who broke these initially or whatnot. I've been getting most of this information from Guns and Gadgets, okay? He's been doing good videos covering these. I think he's calling them the fatal flaws in the pistol brace rule or something like that. So you can go on his channel, check out some of his recent videos, look for that in the title or something like that. If you fall into one of these categories, okay? So um, the first thing is the amnesty registration period. Okay, so basically, ATF basically talks about four options, as far as this, how you can come into compliance with this rule change. Okay, now I'm not a lawyer, but to my understanding, the options that the ATF talk about are: you could destroy the firearm, you could surrender the firearm to ATF. I don't really know what the difference is between those two. You could reconfigure the firearm, or you could utilize this amnesty registration period, where they're basically gonna classify your pistol, whatever it may be, AR pistol, AK pistol. They're gonna basically classify that as an SBR, short barreled rifle, and um, from that point, you'll get a tax stamp, but then they're not going to make you pay the $200 basically. So that's that option, right? So a lot of people may want to do that. However, there is an issue that was uncovered. It was by, I think it was a Gun Owners of America attorney. I think Guns and Gadgets broke this, but don't quote me on that. Basically, if basically if your request is not, if your background check is not completed within 88 days, it's an automatic denial, okay? And you already have proved to ATF that you have what they call a short barreled rifle, okay? Basically, at that point, if that were to happen, you could basically, they would take enforcement efforts or actions, right, against you at that point, okay? So that's a very brief, very vague breakdown of that. But if you are thinking of utilizing the amnesty registration period, look into it further, because they could get you, okay? Now, that is not likely to happen, okay? Because it's really just, maybe you've got a questionable background, right? Maybe there's somebody coincidentally with your same name, same birthday, who is a criminal, right? It's not going to happen to the majority of people, but is that a risk you want to take is really the question, right? So something to consider if you're thinking about doing that option, okay? So moving on, another issue is imported pistols, okay? Basically the ATF is saying that if you have an imported pistol, you put a pistol brace on it. Well, the ATF is now calling that an SBR, short barreled rifle. Well, keyword there, rifle. You can't import complete rifles into this country, but you can import pistols, okay? So basically, they're going to try to say your firearm is in violation of 922R, okay, which is a federal regulation. Now, so basically, the point is, if you have an A or any type of firearm with an attached stabilizing brace that is now, according to the ATF, an SBR, you basically have very few, very bad options, okay? You cannot just register that. Apparently, you cannot just remove the brace. So your only option is either non-compliance or turn your firearm on. Don't mind that. Or turn your firearm in to ATF, okay? But even that is a questionable option because it just depends, right? How they're going to treat you. So that's another issue with this brace. So if you fall into that category, you've got an imported pistol, look into that. I would, if possible, I would really recommend you talk to an attorney if you're in that boat, okay? So, and another consideration here is your state law, okay? If you're going to utilize that amnesty registration period, your braced pistol is now an NFA item. Some states don't allow NFA items, okay? So you got to know your state law. So you basically, even if the feds were to say, yeah, okay, we'll give you the tax stamp, you have an NFA item now, your state might not accept that, okay? So you got to know your state law. That's another issue, okay? So that's just a rundown of a few flaws in this new pistol brace rule. Like I said, I seen most of this on Guns and Gadgets. I have once I seen this, I have looked to the letter, right? But I haven't read the whole letter yet. It's like hundreds of pages. So I've read sections that interest me. Again, as I said, I don't know too much about the topic. Not giving legal advice. Don't take legal advice from me. But yeah, those are a couple issues. If you fall into any one of those three categories, figure out your options. Get informed of the situation. Okay, so I'm going to move on from this topic. On to the next. Okay, so now we're talking about Illinois. Okay, update on their so-called assault weapons ban. Okay, so you probably know by now, Illinois, they basically stripped an insurance regulation bill. In a matter of 2 days, they stripped a bill, put an assault weapon ban in there, and passed it through the Senate, through the House, signed by the governor, became law in 2 days, or like 4 days, 3 days, a few days. And now Illinois is an assault weapon ban state, okay? Just literally like that, okay? Well, obviously the lawsuits rolled out, and so, among other things happened, right? Most of the counties in Illinois, I think there's 102 counties in Illinois. I think was it 80 county sheriffs that basically came out and said, no, we're not going to enforce all this. The governor threatened these sheriffs with their jobs, which he literally can't do. A sheriff is an elected position. Um, and it's a whole thing, right? Anyway, that's the backstory. Now, recently, I think this was maybe like a week ago. I think it might have been 7 days ago exactly. One of the cases against this ban, uh, a judge issued a TRO, a temporary restraining order, against this ban. Okay, now that is a small win. Okay, because it only applies to the plaintiffs. I think there's like 862 or some number around there plaintiffs and maybe two FFLs as well, something like that. I read this last night. Anyway, it only applies to the plaintiffs, so it's not as good as it could be. However, a small win is a small win. This is a good look, if nothing else. Now, this isn't going to last long term. The state's going to appeal this if they haven't already, okay? I expected that they would have already appealed this and probably already got this reversed. If they have, I haven't been able to find anything on that. But if they have, then I'm sure we'll know pretty soon. If they haven't, I'm sure they will do it pretty soon. This is definitely going to be short-lived, but a small win is a small win. It's still a win nonetheless, okay? And really, this is just simply developing still, this situation in Illinois, so we just got to keep an eye on it. If you live in Illinois, definitely got to keep an eye on it, but really, in general, should keep an eye on that, okay? So that's really the only update I have on this Illinois assault weapon ban situation, so I'm gonna move on, okay? Okay, so right now I'm going to quickly mention two federal gun control bills, okay? Not good, something to keep an eye on. First, the Age 21 Act has been resubmitted, okay? So basically, in this country, you're not somebody under the age of 21, like 18, 19, and 20, cannot purchase handguns. Okay, but they can purchase long guns, rifles, and whatnot. This basically looks to ban the age of firearm possession federally, for those 18, 19, and 20. Basically, all guns or almost all guns, you got to be 21 or older to purchase. I think there may be some exceptions in there for 22s, maybe certain hunting rifles. But you're not going to be able to have anything for defense or whatnot. So that's basically what that is, to put it very simply. Age 21 Act, okay? That's been submitted. As far as I know, that doesn't have a bill number yet. As of last night, I couldn't find one. So, anyway. And then the next one is going to be the big one, okay? The federal assault weapons ban of 2023 has been submitted. This also, as of last night, I couldn't find a bill number on it. I will mention that number when we have it, because this is going to essentially be the new HR 1808 federal assault weapon ban, as well as magazine ban, as well as other things. Okay, not good. You got to keep an eye on that. Anyway, that's two federal pieces of gun control that I wanted to mention. Now, I'm going to move on here. Last but not least, this is going to be the final topic. I'm going to run down a couple more bills that have been submitted. However, these are good for the side of the Second Amendment, okay? So first, ATF Accountability Act has been submitted, basically making individuals, mom and pop, FFL owners and whatnot, have an avenue in which they can challenge the ATF on whatever that may be, right? Without having to try to fight the federal government in court, which is not really doable, especially from, mom and pop down the street, right? That's their FFL. So that's good. Moving on. a bill to repeal the NFA, National Firearms Act. That a bill to repeal that has been submitted. Okay, basically get it out of there, which would be great. That would take the claws off the ATF, right? Which would be nice. So there's that, and I think I mentioned this in my last roundup, but the Abolish the ATF Act has been submitted as well, which would obviously be good to get the ATF out completely, right? It would be quite nice. So, 3 good bills for the side of the Second Amendment. As far as I know, as of last night, I couldn't find bill numbers on any of those. Being fair, I don't think any of those will pass. They probably don't have the numbers in the Senate. They might not even have the numbers in the House. Even if they did get through the Senate and the House, Biden would almost definitely not sign any of those. So I don't think they really have a chance, but it's kind of the thought that counts, right? It's at least refreshing to read bills like this, if nothing else. It's good to see people at least trying, right? But these probably don't stand a chance. Anyway, that's really all I have on this. So I'm gonna, it's really gonna be it for this week. Well, this has been another episode of The Roundup. Hope you learned something you didn't know already. It's the point of this series. If you want to continue seeing episodes of this series, you can. Subscribe to my channel. Let me know in the comments if there's anything else you would like to see on this channel. Anyway, that's going to be it for me this week. So I'm going to get out of here. Goodbye.